What's the crack? I hated Crimson Desert, man, so much. And I don't know, I feel like more people might hate it also. This is not like a review, right? I didn't finish the game, didn't engage with large parts of it because I didn't want to. So don't think of it as like a comprehensive kind of overview or anything. I'm just gonna kind of talk shit, to be honest. I'm really annoyed I didn't refund it within the 2 hour window. I played like 18 hours of this game. I got to the fifth story chapter, and really a lot of that time I just hated it. There is some good stuff I'll talk about, but like, God, I hated this game. The point of comparison I keep coming back to is The Witcher 3. Not a perfect game by any means, but I love it in all its imperfection. So I'd say for like comparative purposes, if you're not into The Witcher 3, you don't like it, maybe this won't make that much sense. But I really was expecting like a single player RPG from Crimson Desert, and it just isn't, or it doesn't feel like that anyway. Honestly, that's my big problem, right? This is an MMO. This is just an MMO without the MO at the end. I heard somewhere that they actually tried to rework an MMO into a single player game, like part way through development, which is completely insane. um, Advice from me, don't do that. That's completely insane. But yeah, a lot of the problems I had with it really just kind of come down to that, right? So anyway, the game just opens in media res, right? With your clan being just like punched around by these bear guys. 18 hours later, I still don't know what's going on here, right? There's like a boss fight that you're supposed to lose, which I don't know, questionable design. I'm not really into that. Let me either fight the boss or don't. But whatever. And then you lose and you get thrown into the cinematic where you get like thrown off a cliff into a river and you drown. I actually don't know. Looking back, it's kind of mad. Like I still don't know if the character dies, but you end up going to this like astral realm, where you learn how to jump, and then what? That's true. What the fuck? Um, you learn how to jump, and then you wake up in this guy's house. Like apparently, I guess you washed up on shore, taken in by this guy. This guy who's not a character, by the way. Don't worry about him. Never mentioned again, as far as I know. And then later on, you meet up with the Astral Realm people, and they tell you that you have to kind of, I don't know, restore balance to the world or something. It's kind of annoying me as I talk about it. I'm like, I still don't know if I died at the start. Did I die and I was like picked by the Astral Realm people to come back? I don't know. The player character just never asks, right? So I assume it's fine. It probably doesn't matter, whatever. And then what happens? You help a rich guy in like the starter town, and he gives you a plot of land to like rebuild your clan on. So at this point, probably thinking that's pretty thin for 18 hours of a game. And yep, I agree. What's especially bad is that all of that thing that had happened, like most of that happens in the first 30 minutes, and then the rest is just drip fed over the next 17 and a half hours. So I don't know where the story goes. Like I said, I stopped in chapter 5, but the setup is bizarre, really weird. I think they want to leave you with a lot of questions, which it does, in fairness, but only because our main character doesn't ask questions. It just makes it like frustrating more than intriguing. Like when you go to the astral realm, there's this guy that I don't know how else to say it. He's like God coded, right? He's some sort of maybe divine being or wizard or whatever. But Cliff just never asks him anything. You can't initiate dialogue like you can in a lot of RPGs. So you just don't find out if Cliff doesn't ask. It reminds me of something George R. R. Martin said, writing like A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm not going to do his voice. I am not going to do his voice. He was like, you can't write POV chapters for everyone because there's certain characters who just know too much, right? So you have to leave them like in the periphery of the story. Like Howland Reed, right? He's not going to leave Greywater Watch because he just knows too much to be in the story. But the Crimson Desert setup is like if Bloodraven was in the Winterfell Heart Tree when Ned is cleaning ice in like his second chapter, and he just didn't think to ask him any questions. It's like, come on, man, that guy seems to know a lot. Like, ask him, please. So yeah, 18 hours in, I actually don't know if there's a main villain. I'd guess it's the guy who killed you in the opening, and that they'll do sort of a revenge thing. If they have any sense, then that conflict would be like related to the astral plane stuff, but I don't know. I will never find out, honestly. The guy who kills you has no presence after the opening, at least up until where I am, 18 hours in. So I find it kind of hard to care. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, okay, man, you killed me, but like the guy in the drill costume killed me like 4 times. Am I supposed to care about him? Like, he didn't even get a name. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, how am I supposed to care about this? I think it's just hard to do a revenge quest, honestly, in a game, you know? Most of the time, you're just not going to hate the person enough. I played the Ghost of Yutai, the second one. It's okay. It's definitely better than the first one, right? But nothing groundbreaking. It really made me realize how hard it is to get me to care about revenge in a game. I think maybe it's actually easier to get you to care about someone. Like they sort of try that in The Witcher 3. I would argue it doesn't really work there either, so I don't know, but maybe a better option. So I keep talking about this guy Cliff, right? He's the main character. Our protagonist, I suppose, in a very loose sense. Like, the funny thing about him though is he is technically a character. Like, he has a name, a voice, and a look that you can't alter outside of clothing. But he also just doesn't have a personality, and you never get to make choices. It was like, what's the point of him being a character? Like, why not just be the player character? Like, I know Geralt is pretty stock as far as characters go, but he's still a character. Like, he's not the player. You know what I mean? He has things he will and won't do. He has relationships with other characters based on his past. So even if most of the decisions in the third Witcher game are, you know, kind of inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, it's often just because they're decisions being made by a guy with, you know, a pre-written worldview and opinion on things. And it also limits what you can do in the game, right? Because any activity you do would have to be something that Geralt would do. The limitations make sense, and they're written into the character. Like, his friends wouldn't accept him doing certain things, so you just can't do them in the game. I don't know. Limitations are like a real issue that this game has. I think we would have to talk about it a lot, but maybe just let me talk about Cliff a bit more. His voice actor is pretty good. Like a lot of the voice acting in the game, honestly. It's mostly voices and accents from like around the Celtic Isles and their weird little cousin, England. Honestly, I just wish they had taken as many writers from The Witcher 3 as they did voice actors. I swear the guy who plays Johnny in The Witcher 3 probably voices like 500 NPCs in this game. It's pretty insane. I don't actually know how you get around that problem, right? I'm laughing about it, but it's like, I don't know how you get around that problem in a game of this size, like just repeating voice actors. The Witcher 3 had that exact same problem. I don't know, like, it's not that bad here or there. I think Skyrim, honestly, is a worse offender, just because there's actually so few NPCs in that game, and like, come on, voice actors are cheap, you know what I mean? You pay them dog shit anyway, and just get more of them. Hearing Bellathor's voice to this day just still makes me angry. But yeah, Cliff, he kind of suffers from being the coolest guy ever that everyone likes, but I have no idea why, right? He has that syndrome as a main character. As far as voice protagonists go, he's basically mute, but his friends and even just like random NPCs will always talk about how cool he is and how much they love him. But I don't know anything about him, you know? Literally, I've been walking around with this guy. I don't know anything about him at all, other than what clan he's in. He's quite Jack Reacher-esque in the way that everyone thinks he's the coolest guy ever, and he just walks around murdering people. I don't know, maybe he gets fleshed out more later in the game, but the way it was going, I'm going to say I doubt it, and I don't care. The other characters in his clan are all really well voice acted as well. The problem is just that they're like stock characters, right? They really bank on the idea that I have like investment in the Greymane clan that they're all in. Yeah, it's really funny. Like, all the NPCs talk about how well respected and like renowned the Greymanes are. They have this reputation. They're the best swordsmen ever. They're feared by everyone. But literally the only thing I know about them is that in the opening they got washed by the Chicago Bears. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. It seems they're the best clan ever. Like, they really walked all over us. They had no problem killing us all. It's really weird. They steal a quest from, oh, I don't know, steal is a strong word, but they used the exact same quest from The Witcher 3, where there's a guy pretending to be in the Greymanes. He's like banking off their name. He's like a useless drunk guy, right? And it's really weird because it's just never addressed. Like, you follow him to where some outlaws are, but Cliff never takes issue with the fact that he's using their name, or like, you know, he doesn't confront the guy at all. They just never talk about it. It's really weird. It's really bizarre. The thing I keep seeing online is people talking about just how much there is to do. And honestly, yes, there is a ton of stuff to do. The problem is that it's all bland, pointless busy work with really no meaning. Initially, I was shocked that you could like 2x speed through the dialogue. I was like, what self respecting writer would include that as an option? But then, honestly, after being exposed to the writing for long enough, I realized I was like, oh yeah, okay, no, this makes total sense. Just yeah, you can actually increase the speed further in the options menu. Anyone who doesn't know that, you can put it up to ×4, which I did immediately. Like none of it matters. The NPCs are just there to give you quests, like kill this, go here, whatever, make this soup. So you really should be skipping the dialogue. Honestly, they shouldn't have had it. They should have just had like an MMO quest marker thing, like a notice board or something. The opening area is the worst for this. I say opening area, but I'm still there 18 hours later, so I don't know. It's just the area that you play the game in. I have to talk about the Saddler quest. Like it's it's been keeping me up at night that they actually put this in the game. There's a quest that I did like 16 hours in. It's kind of framed as like a tutorial quest or something. I don't know, like a very early one. But like I said, I'd been playing for I think 15 or 16 hours by the time I played this. And I wasn't avoiding quests, like I was doing whatever. So you get a notice to go talk to the saddler, right? And the saddler asks me to ask a guy what he thought of her saddle, which already is just a very flimsy premise for a quest. I'm like, okay, whatever, something might happen. So I go to his place, right? But he's not there. So I go to where he was last seen, and he's also not there. But he left a note there saying where he was going to go. So I go there and ask him. And he says, oh yeah, that saddle, it was good. And then I go back to the saddler and she says, oh, that's great, I'm glad you liked it. And then the quest ends. And I was like, come on, like, what are we doing? This is a real quest in the game. I just can't overstate how bad this is. It just has no respect for your time, honestly. And for me, I mean, I have time. You know what I mean? I have loads of time. I work for myself. I don't work long hours, but even for me, I was kind of like, this is kind of insulting, no? I was initially impressed, right, by how big the map is. It looks great, by the way, genuinely, no notes on that. But after I realized kind of how much I hated playing the game, I was like, okay, I'm just going to walk through all the different areas of the map and have fun that way. And honestly, it was kind of cool, right? It actually did cement something important, though, which is that none of this matters. Because I walked from the starting area as far north as I could go. I climbed this like volcano and all this cool stuff. It was great. I thought it was fun that all the areas are just open from the start, right? And explorable. There doesn't seem to be any artificial gating. Maybe some, but not lots. But I realized as I was doing it that the reason that they're not gated is because just all the regions are practically the same, right? It's the same NPCs, the same vendors, the same items in the shops. The reason it's all open to you is because it doesn't matter. Like, you can't spoil anything because there's basically no story. You can't break the progression because all the regions have the same gear. So, like, yeah, why wouldn't you be allowed to go where you want? That was actually the final nail in the coffin for me, not the saddler. It probably should have been the saddler, but no, that was actually worse for me. That was the last time I just turned off the game. I was like, no, I'm not gonna go back to this. I feel like I'm not that tapped in to what people are saying. I've seen some really positive stuff about the game and people talking about it, but I don't really know why they like it. To be honest, I feel a little out of the loop here. I never played the MMO, right? Black Desert. I think they're related. I assume they're related or in the same world or something. But the world does seem, I don't know, kind of lame, right? Like, I don't know the deep lore or anything, but it just seems very generic. Not bad or anything, but just nothing I'm going to remember. And the game doesn't really have an original bone in its body. And that's not always a terrible thing, right? Like, the Zelda climbing system was my favorite thing in those games. So I'm like, yeah, let's just have it here. It's good. Who cares? Like, that's fine. But the homework copying does kind of only get you so far. And I do think that as you lift more and more elements from other stuff, you do kind of lose something, especially when you don't really understand why you're lifting them or why they worked in the original thing. To bring it back to Skyrim, that's actually the game that I first ever noticed all the like homework copying for fantasy. I am a certified hater of Skyrim, although I was 14 when it came out and I loved it, right? Like everyone. It was just when I got older and replayed it, I realized, one, just how kind of shallow it all is, but also how much fantasy they had just ripped off from other stuff, especially A Song of Ice and Fire. That is the second mention of A Song of Ice and Fire in this video. Can you tell what book I'm rereading at the minute or what series? But it's annoying in Skyrim as well because they took a bunch of stuff without really understanding. I don't know. Can I just go on a rant? Maybe I can. It's my video. I guess I can. I'm just assuming everyone on Earth is familiar with Skyrim and A Song of Ice and Fire, right? Or at least Game of Thrones. It's some of the like biggest franchises on Earth. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I don't know. Just go read A Song of Ice and Fire. But yeah, I always think of the Giants and Riverrun in Skyrim. That's another thing that keeps me awake at night because they did some homework copying there, right? They took all that from A Song of Ice and Fire. Like the Giants are this nomadic, intelligent race, right, with their own history and language and culture, and they're clearly in decline because of humans, right? And in A Song of Ice and Fire, Ygritte, one of the characters, starts singing this song, like the history of the Giants. She's crying. And she's recounting how they've been killed and they're dwindling. And, you know, Jon Snow is like a stupid teenager and doesn't understand because he doesn't understand anything because he's a fucking moron. And he's like, what do you mean? I saw a giant yesterday. You know, he's like, there's a few around. I saw some. And, you know, Ygritte just rightly gets annoyed at him because these are an actual, like, people. They're a group who have lives and stories and meaningful, you know, religious beliefs and all of this stuff. And they have, in the name of kind of progress in this world, they have been literally left out in the cold to dwindle and die intentionally. So anyway, in Skyrim, you can pick up bounties on giants, right? They are, by the way, the exact same story as A Song of Ice and Fire, but you can just pick up bounties on them for an amount of money that is never useful, even on level 1. All right, cool. So you didn't understand why these are in the story, and you weren't kind of prepared to handle them as an element. Okay. The worst one is Riverrun. This video is over, by the way. If you're interested in Crimson Desert, just turn this off. The worst one for me is Riverrun. Okay, I'm open to the idea that Riverrun in Skyrim is called Riverrun because it's literally just next to a river. I'm open to that. But I am side-eyeing them because of how much other stuff they took from A Song of Ice and Fire. So I'm thinking that they took Riverrun too, because it is the name of the Tully Castle in A Song of Ice and Fire, right? And Riverrun in A Song of Ice and Fire is a reference to Finnegan's Wake, right? It's a kind of insane and frankly like out of place and random literary reference to Finnegan's Wake. The word Riverrun appears in the opening sentence of Finnegan's Wake, and then it's actually the end of the last sentence as well. It's this like cyclical book. And yeah, this is now just going to be about Finnegan's Wake. Okay, hold on. Like I said, the video is over. This is now a Finnegan's Wake video. So anyway, Finnegan's Wake is great. Go read it. A common Irish literary W, honestly. But it's like sort of about cycles and the story of humanity, right? And it's like a mythological history of humanity almost. The characters are like recurring. They keep coming back into the story, but they have different names. And the main character, Finnegan, he dies at the start, and they're, you know, having his wake and stuff. But you find out that he has committed like a sin, I don't know, a crime that he has to be forgiven for. Either like in the park or the garden. I can't remember. It's a Garden of Eden reference, either way. But he has to be like forgiven for this sin, right? And so in A Song of Ice and Fire, when Catelyn is in Riverrun, a character, it doesn't matter. She's constantly like going back and forth in time through her memories of herself and her sister. And her father, who is dying, keeps mistaking people for other people, right? He's using different names every time someone walks into the room. He doesn't know who anyone is. And like I said, it's just a very like weird, cool reference. It doesn't really belong. This is why we don't have Winds of Winter, by the way. Like George is doing this shit instead of just writing the story, because that's, you know, this is the kind of thing he loves. And we find out that Catelyn's father also has committed some sin in the past. He never reveals what it is. There's this other character he keeps talking about, Tansy, or Pansy. I think it's Tansy. I just never look anything up. But yeah, he kind of wants forgiveness for some crime that no one knows what it is, much like Finnegan's Wake. And yeah, it's great. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking about Finnegan's Wake. But anyway, Riverrun is called Riverrun as a reference, right? And then in Skyrim, it's called Riverrun because it was called a river run in A Song of Ice and Fire, right? It's just like a degraded reference, not understanding why something was there, just thinking something was cool and running with it. So yeah, I'm not gonna just rant about how thoughtless and bad Skyrim is. I hope you know what I mean, right? About like copying elements. That's Crimson Desert. This is still about Crimson Desert. Yeah. Okay. The Finnegan's Wake tangent making me realize this video is finished. I've gone on way too long. I could say way more about Crimson Desert, but honestly, um, who gives a fuck? I hated this game. If you like it, I love you. I'm genuinely delighted for you. It's amazing. It seems like, there's a lot of the stuff that you like if you like this. So that's great. Enjoy. Go do that. Go play it. Okay, actually, one last note on copying homework, right? In my final year exams in secondary school, there was this guy seated across from me. I think it was during a maths exam. I'm not sure about that. But I looked over at him toward the end of his exam and we like locked eyes. And he just slowly lifted up his maths paper where he had drawn an like extremely realistic horse over the whole sheet, covering the questions, covering like the whole section, the questions and answers. He had done no maths on it at all. First of all, genuinely one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Nice job, man. I hope you're doing well. But to bring it back to Crimson Desert, I feel like they were sort of copying his homework some of the time, right? Like this is their goblin design. I mean, it's not what the video is about, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna pretend that I'm upset by this. It's just like, come on, man. This is the goblin. This is what you're doing. This is clear anti-Irish sentiment, right? They gave this guy an Irish voice actor. They had the gall to give him the characteristic green skin and prominent nose combo of all Irishmen. This guy runs the Merchant Guild, by the way.